I'm Joseph,
And I'm Nick.
and this is Fish Jelly.
Oh, yes.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. Thanksgiving just passed.
It did.
We went to Las Vegas for Thanksgiving.
We did.
When you were a kid, did your mom make a big deal out of Thanksgiving?
I mean, yeah, that there was a flurry of food making for sure. And
But it was just the four of you.
no, we would usually do something with
Oh, and your grandma.
my mom's parents usually because they were
Oh,
better at everything.
and your mom's a good cook.
She's a very good cook, yes. She used to make this really good kind of sage garlic stuffing, but it had roasted actual roasted. Oh God, my mind is blinking.
Garlic?
Yeah, but what do you call a cluster of garlic? A clove.
A clove?
Yeah, a clove of garlic, and that would have been roasted. So you're eating like big soft chunks of garlic, and that shit gives you gas.
Oh, well, what's that one restaurant, Stinking Rose?
Yeah,
I think it's gone,
I
though,
think it is gone.
in Beverly Hills.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, it is permanently closed. We ate there twice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
had bad heartburn
heartburn, gas. Yeah, and
because everything is like they even have a garlic martini or had a garlic
I mean,
martini.
I like garlic, but it should accentuate the work. It shouldn't be the centerpiece.
My I grew up with my mom's family, it's a very large family, and when we were younger, we would all get together more often than we do now because everyone's, all the cousins. I have a lot of cousins, and everyone's middle aged now, so they have their own traditions with their own families. But back then, yeah, it would be a big gathering. I always enjoyed that. Lots of food. And of course, always had food issues. So
Yeah, but
would just tear it up extra.
as a kid, you're not thinking about those things.
No. Well, it's validating when to see everyone else eating like an animal for sure. But
But well, see, growing up, my dad always made it clear that he did not want fat kids, and so for actually from a young age, I was very aware of what my body shouldn't look like. But we would tear it up, but he would always inevitably it would be a shower of guilt, and mostly probably for himself, of because he I think has body image issues.
well, my dad was exactly the same. Uh,
Like,
didn't want us to be fat. Also had body issues. And looking back, uh, I feel like I'm a lot like him. Like he would like binge eat and then all of a sudden be like, I need to run every day for a week. And
yeah, my dad had bad knees and a bad back because he was a laborer, and he would still get on that treadmill and do sit-ups. But when my friend's mother, he was always out in this yard shirtless. My friends' mothers would always be like, God, is that your dad?
well, then my mom is super tiny and has always eaten like a bird, but always wants to feed you like a mountain of food.
Yeah.
So that's always been really annoying. But anyway, moving on. I meant to talk about this last week, but Ross Dress for Less, that
Mhm.
discount department store we all know. I just have to say how raggedy that store is.
Oh yeah, but I mean, isn't that part of its charm?
Well, but like the closest Ross to us is on Sunset and La Brea. That one's real raggedy. Then
Yeah.
there's the Beverly Connection across from the Beverly Center. That place has Ross, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Nordstrom Rack, and Off Saks. So that's kind of like the mecca of discount department stores. But going on a weekend is a nightmare. So the only, I mean, the best time to go to that place is like during the week, during the day. But I usually go to the one on Sunset and La Brea because that's close to where I run some of my errands. And I hate going to Ross.
Oh, trying to. Well, it's like there should be two of you because one should get in line right away to check out, and somebody else goes and gets all the stuff you want.
That's
Because
probably the worst part of Ross in particular is like there are never cashiers working. And there's always the one line for people making returns and then the other line for people making
and
purchases.
there are always people with big bags of bullshit to
Ugh.
return.
Delta Work on her podcast said that the trick to Ross is you need to always buy something like a little something stupid that you keep to return. so that you can go in the shorter line
Mm-hmm.
every time you go in.
Yeah, actually.
So I need to start doing that. But then I don't really shop there that often. Usually I go to Ross to buy like very random home things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted a basket for under this buffet cabinet we have in the kitchen to hide some wires. And I knew that if I went to Target, their selection's so limited. And then whatever they do have in the form of like home baskets would be like probably $50.
What about Home Goods?
The closest Home Goods is not close.
Oh, yeah, not anymore to us, no.
Or I could have gone to the Beverly Connection, but then it was during the week in the evening. So I thought, well, that's not worth the hassle to drive over there. So of course I found the basket I liked. It was only $11, so it was perfect. But then yeah, waiting forever. And then the thing I hate the most about Ross waiting in line, and it's every Ross store I go to, so I don't know if this is their style, but they always call the next customer as soon as the current customer pays.
Uh-huh.
So then you always have some asshole like, well, it's not their fault. They've been called up, but they're standing there while it's like, I'm trying to put my shit away. Or, I mean, I pay with my phone, but so I'm pretty fast. But then these poor people who are like trying to put their physical cash back, it's just like, this is annoying. And y'all have the nerve to double up on people waiting with one cashier and 20 people in line.
Mhm.
Oh, I hate it. I hate Ross so much. And
I
then
mean-
but I feel compelled to go all the time.
Oh, see, I don't. I will only go with you because I never go on my own. But I remember I really didn't like the one in near MacArthur Park. There's also one in Culver City we've been to.
Well, nowadays, because there's selection of like gym clothes, and because when I was younger, that would be the place to go to buy like gym clothes, um, sometimes like shoes. But now their selection is the only thing I would ever buy at Ross are candles.
Mm-hmm.
I always have an older iPhone. I never have the current iPhone, so it's pretty easy to find like chargers. I usually buy my phone cases from Ross because I have an older phone, so they have them. And then like home stuff, like if I need a random little like box or mirror, some rug for the bathroom. But anyway, we also didn't talk about this. A few weeks ago, we watched an episode of Ricki Lake called Get a Grip Doll, You're Too Fat to Be a Drag Queen, which aired originally on January 14th, 1997. We watched it because I think I was watching Darian Lake talk about, she was being interviewed
by Maddie Morphosis.
That's right. Uh-huh. And she said that she was on Ricki Lake with Pandora Box. So I was like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Well, Maddie's like, it's online from some Icelandic or Dutch television.
Yeah. So we watched the episode. It was interesting.
It made me sad. In Ricki Lake's, I think heart was in the right place, but there's this fucking white bitch that gets up with a big goofy ass smile on her face telling these queens that she thinks they're disgusting, and it just just makes my blood boil. And I remember after we watched this, I said we should talk about it because the only people that are consistently nice are the black women that get up and talk and telling these people that they should be happy and do what they want.
Yeah, clearly Ricki Lake is not, I think she probably would consider herself an ally. And for the late 90s, I feel like the only way to have, because, Joan Rivers did it.
Yes.
With love. Other people like Geraldo, Phil Donahue was very in the middle, but like Geraldo would have.
It was sensational.
Gays and transgender people and drag queens on, but it was definitely meant to be sensational and critical. Whereas Joan, in her way, I think was also an ally.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Ricki Lake was.
And I think she was too. But back then, the only way to have those type of people on is you kind of had to make them open for ridicule.
Yeah.
So she did. And like you said, the people would get up and make awful comments about these people who are just, because, the other issue is shows like Ricki Lake and Jenny Jones, all those really sensational daytime talk shows back then, they would pay to have people come on and pretend to have issues. Yes. So that's why Darian Lake was talking about it, because she and Pandora and their other friend went on pretending to have a feud.
Yes.
And then they get a free trip to New York and a little stipend out of it. And I have a good friend who did it back in the day twice.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically like, oh, I have a girlfriend. I'm going to come out to her on this show. So he was on Ricki Lake pretending to be straight and then coming out to his girlfriend. But they were best friends, and they went for the free trip to New York. But
that all of that is clearly calibrated for a heteronormative audience, because anybody that's queer knows exactly what's going on.
and I don't know that the net result is positive. Like,
No.
yes, queer people are being given a platform, but also they're being made fun of. And then it's not until the very end that she says, we should accept people and let them live, and I support you. She says something to that effect.
She does say something affirming at the end, and she does throw some shade at some of those shitty ass audience members.
She does. There are a couple of moments when she does kind of stick up, but overwhelmingly for the 45 minutes, it's just like, let's make fun of these men in drag who don't particularly look great. Most of whom are, there are only a couple who aren't like severely overweight. It's just kind of a mess. And then she lets them all do like a lip sync performance, but they're not very, it's all very rushed, and so it feels more like a spectacle and like people are being made fun of.
Yeah, it's very carnivalesque. Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to the restaurant section, we went to Crossroads, that vegan restaurant on Melrose. For your birthday, someone, a subscriber / listener, sent us a gift card, so that was also nice. But and we'd been there before.
But I straight up forgot that. Well, it's been years since we've been there. I straight up forgot that was vegan.
Well,
because I'm looking at these like scallop mushrooms.
That's what I wanted to talk about. I don't like when vegan like menus try to like make the food seem like it's meat. I don't need it to be like meat. Like we ordered the calamari, which is clearly not calamari. Fritti. It's mushrooms. So why don't you just what did I say? Call them like crunchy or fried shrooms or something. I think I said like fried mushroom sticks or. Yeah. But it's like, because it is confusing. Like every dish had a name that replicated meat, so it's like, I'm not getting chicken though. I'm getting.
No, but the food was good. I was confused why the piccata did not come with noodles.
Yeah, the pricing is.
It was good.
It's premium pricing. I wouldn't say it's fine dining, but it's a really cute restaurant. I would recommend it. We did order more than we needed to.
Yes.
We probably ordered like 3 dishes too many, but the server goes, well, we recommend, because the plates are small, that you get like 2 to 3 per person. So we ordered like 7 things, but yeah, we probably ordered like 3 things too many. I would go back though. Films released we didn't cover. Disney's Wish.
Yes, with Ariana DeBose, I believe, voicing the main character, directed by Chris Buck and Fawn Veerasunthorn, and it's about a little girl who wishes upon a star, and the star comes down to greet her. That's all I know about it.
Genie?
Oh, this is with Melissa McCarthy. We got a link for this weeks ago, and you did not want to watch this.
That trailer looks so crunchy and predictable.
Yeah.
Good Burger 2?
I never saw the first Good Burger, but this new one reunites the main stars, of course, directed by Phil Trail on Paramount Plus.
I am familiar with Good Burger. I was mildly interested in watching this, but I don't think I had the energy to actually write notes and talk about it.
I remember the trailer for the first one with, of course, the famous line about "Welcome to Good Burger," blah blah blah. Whatever that line is? Can I take your order, please?
Leave the World Behind.
This is a Netflix film. It opened at the AFI Film Festival, and it has an interesting cast: Mahershala Ali and Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke. And I still want to see this, directed by Sam Esmail. Netflix is dropping it in theaters this week, but it'll soon be on Netflix, so we'll probably just watch it then.
Maestro,
where Bradley Cooper's sophomore directorial outing, where he also stars as Leonard Bernstein, the queer multi-hyphenate who's married to a woman played by Carey Mulligan. And dare I say, Mulligan gets the greater role by far, I think. And then, I saw this at Venice where I reviewed it, and we didn't have time to fit it in this November. But it's very well made, and I could see Mulligan getting Oscar attention for this, but I did really like it. And everybody made a to-do about the prosthetic nose that Cooper's wearing in it, but I didn't find it. I didn't find it distracting at all.
Well, Bradley Cooper doesn't have a small nose.
Yeah, he has a
He has a
well-sized
schnoz on
schnoz,
him too, so
but people
it's not like what's her name? Zoe Saldana
doing
doing
Nina Simone.
Nina Simone. That was wild to
But
me.
it's funny, the poster art that they were showing in Venice on these big billboards, because part of the plot point is these two people just fucking chain smoked. But they have this cigarette looks like a spliff, but it looks like it's in his hand and he's holding it up, and it looks like to match the size of his nose, which I thought was odd. But uh, it's really worth watching. And Netflix dropped it in theaters this week. It'll soon be on their streaming platform.
I'm gonna tear this up. Menus plus Sears Lace Trosgross,
Yeah,
whatever that is.
Les Trois Gros. That is the new 4-hour documentary from Frederick Wiseman, who is at least in his 80s now, and documents all kinds of things. But he is following a restaurant that has had what's the Michelin star rating? What's the highest rating? Is that 5-star?
Well, no, I think a Michelin star rated that is the rating, like Michelin.
Is it? But what's the highest? I thought there was a star system.
I think if something's Michelin star rated, then that means that it is the best.
But you can collect more stars. Then
Can you?
can get more than one or however many.
Oh, is that okay?
I mean, I don't. To be honest, I don't really give a shit. But
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think he's stationed himself there and documented this renowned restaurant. I mean, it sounds interesting, and that you need to eat first. But eventually, I'll watch that eventually. I do like Frederick Wiseman.
Monster.
This I was hoping you'd agree to watch, but we didn't. It's the new Hirokazu Koreeda film, which competed in Cannes this past year and won the Queer Palm, even though there are some queer themes. But Koreeda, the John Cameron Mitchell jury, and I don't know if you remember, I talked about how obnoxious he was at that award ceremony. Koreeda was very reluctant to accept the award, but he did, and it is a lovely. If you haven't seen any Koreeda, I bet, and he's pretty consistent. But I did like it. It is worth a watch.
The Naughty Nine.
This is a Christmas movie starring Danny Glover, directed by Alberto Belli, and that's all I know about it.
Robot Dreams.
This I missed at Cannes. I was in some sidebar section, but it's a animated film by Pablo Berger, who's a Spanish filmmaker, who's Blanca Nieves, Snow White, a very beautiful black and white Snow White rendition from damn near a decade ago. I really liked, but I would watch this for him.
American Symphony.
This is a new documentary from Matthew Heineman about the musician John Baptiste, who I'm completely ignorant about, but I think it's Netflix, so it's got a theatrical. It'll be on their streaming service soon.
Do Justice.
You almost had me ask for a screener for this, but it's Jeff Fahey and Kellen Lutz. Is that right?
Oh, that's right.
Directed by somebody named Javier Reina. I mean, you just need to look at the poster to know.
I didn't think it'd be good, but I was curious to see what Kellen is up to nowadays.
Well, I think he's the lead.
Yeah. Fry Bread, Face and Me.
It's funny, your sister wanted to watch this on Netflix while we were there for Thanksgiving.
And I shot her ass down.
Directed by Billy Luther, and you were like, nah.
I just needed something that I assumed it wasn't going to be an upbeat film, so.
It's short. It's about two Navajo sisters, and I don't know about the plot beyond that. But yeah, eventually I would watch this too.
Smoke Sauna Sisterhood.
This is, as the title suggests, about a group of women that sauna. Are they in Finland, Sweden? I don't know. I just know that it's directed by Anna Hintz, and that was released.
Lastly, They Shot the Piano Player.
This is a restored release of the classic new wave film by Francois Truffaut, which I have seen once, because it's part of the Criterion collection, like in the first 100 films or so I think they put out. So that means that we'll probably get a nice new Blu-ray release of this eventually, if Janus still has it, which I think they do.
Projects of Interest. Belle.
Benoit Jacquot, who's worked many, many times with my gal, Isabelle Huppert, he has a new project that I think just started shooting in France, starring Guillaume Canet and Charlotte Gainsbourg, who, I also am a fan of. And it's based on a book by Georges Simenon, who is a fantastic mystery genre writer, uh, who wrote countless books. But I've read several. But I think the title of this book is The Death of Belle, La Mort de Belle. Anyway, with that cast and that director, I can't wait. And Gainsbourg has worked with Jacques as well. I think they had a film that was at was it Rotterdam or Locarno, but it was called Susanna Adler, which was pretty decent and went nowhere. But anyway,
Let's take a break. The title of this podcast will be Maxine's Baby, the Tyler Perry story, because I figured people would be more interested in this than our secret film, which is a different movie we'll talk about at the end.
mm-hmm.
But we watched the Amazon Prime documentary, Maxine's Baby, the Tyler Perry story. It's an intimate portrait of Tyler Perry and his harrowing but faithful road to the top of an industry that didn't always include him. I saw on Rotten Tomatoes that someone's pull quote is that premise.
Oh, okay.
Someone you know, actually, who said it was fresh. I would also say it's fresh. One criticism, someone who said it was rotten, they wrote, made for fans and fans alone. I would say the opposite. So I am very, very familiar with Tyler Perry,
mm-hmm.
and I think that there was nothing really illuminating about this documentary. I think this is for people who have a curiosity about him. Like, I'm sure most people in the United States know who Tyler Perry is at this point,
mm-hmm.
but they may not be familiar with
his body of work
and how successful he is. So I think,
I mean, white people aren't familiar with his body of work.
so I think this documentary does a very good job of presenting his work.
mm-hmm.
It's directed by two people, one of whom is his baby mama.
Which one is
Galila?
Oh yeah, not Armani Ortiz. Yeah.
So what did you think about this documentary?
I mean, I was curious when they announced this is an AFI centerpiece. You were out of town, but I knew that we would be watching this, and I've of course waited to watch it with you. I don't think it's for the fans. I think it's more of a testament of his importance as and yeah, he's an artist. He's a film director and a trailblazer at that. And what he has been able to do is really impressive. But at the same time, I think this is certainly not something where we get to know him as a person intimately, and it's just kind of like his public persona, very guarded, and you will only see what he wants to show you, and that's fine. I mean, we've talked about this film several times since we've seen it, and nobody owes anybody anything about their personal life. But I know that a whole host of people will be watching this wanting some other kind of revelations. But I think that if you appreciate any of his work, it's a really lovely snapshot of his filmography.
The documentary basically outlines his childhood. So he had a very abusive father. He grew up in New Orleans, was very close with his mother. We don't really hear much about his childhood except that he was emotionally and physically abused. And then he kind of says in passing, which we already know, that he was sexually abused. And he's talked about it more in depth on Oprah than he did in his documentary. He basically just says it like, yeah, I was abused and there was some sexual stuff. And that's all we get, which is fine. It's his story to tell. And then we move on to him deciding that he wanted to write stories like plays. And he says the inspiration for that was when he was a kid and he was being abused. There was like a little crawl space under his house and he would go and hide there. And he said that in his mind, he would envision the stories of like, because he could see the neighbors' houses across the street, that he would imagine the kind of stories that are unfolding in those homes. And so that's what he credits to him being able to write so many stories so fast and having so many stories to tell. And then we see that he did write a play and tried to put it on. It was not successful. He tried and tried and tried to the point where he was living out of his car, which is what people like to cite as his stint of being homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And he says when he finally decided to give up, he was given an opportunity one last time to put on this play at the House of Blues, and it was a success. And that was the turning point because now he's selling out small theaters, namely like in the Chitlin circuit, which is basically referring to sort of smaller theaters in the South that catered to Black audiences. And then he grew into all of the Medea plays in the late 90s and early 2000s and selling out like major spaces across the country, making millions and millions of dollars, having this audience. He also, this is before social media, had a mailing list with millions of people on it. So he would just announce a show in a city and it would sell out without any marketing.
Right.
So he had this huge audience, a bunch of money, and then he went to Hollywood, specifically Lionsgate, and said he wants to make a movie.
Well,
Lionsgate was the only one who believed in him,
they
the
approached
president.
him, I think, right?
And they were very curious about him because they saw the numbers he did, and they're like, well, no one knows who this guy is, meaning all the white people who were in charge of all the studios. And so the president of Lionsgate at the time said that he was, the way he worded it was funny. He's like, we had a diversity committee that I would sometimes,
that every now and then
I would be a part of. Like, wow. And he said in one of the meetings, I asked, does anyone know who Tyler Perry is? And he said every Black person in the meeting raised their hands, but none of the white people.
And he said, well, something's going on here. Well,
so that's when they decided to give him a chance, and that's when we got Diary of a Mad Black Woman, which was #1, and then Tyler Perry had a string of #1 films. And then it talks about him parlaying that success into making a movie studio. So he's the first Black person to have a film studio. And his is not just like some little rinky-dink thing. I mean,
no,
it's more impressive than the studios you see in Hollywood. And then the success he has seen with all of his television shows, which is what has made him a billionaire. The only thing I didn't know watching this documentary is that he developed this model of producing television shows, because the goal with the television show is to get to 100 episodes so you can get into syndication, and that's where the money is. But Tyler Perry's had this model that they're calling the 1090 model, which is that he went to the studio saying, I'll pay for 10 episodes. I'll give them to you. You air them. And if they're a success, then you agree to buy 90 episodes, which is very different from what it's always been, which is people will make a pilot, they'll run the pilot. If the pilot goes well, then the studio or the network says, we'll take 12 more or 22 more.
Yes, very much more precarious.
But because he had the resources to kind of call the shots, he was like, nah, I will produce 10. You don't have to give me a penny. But if it works, then you're buying 90 so that we're in syndication. So that's where a lot of his successes come from in recent years. Talks about Medea a little bit. He really doesn't talk too much about that character, which has really made him. And then something that he does allow in the documentary that I think made me give it 3 out of 5 instead of 2.5 is that he does have detractors in there who are interviewed and they're given space to criticize him. And I thought like that was pretty cool, but I think he only felt comfortable doing that because he is so successful now.
Well, right. And they are very tastefully.
Critical.
Criticizing him.
And then we do. So in the previous podcast, I had apologized for saying that he would never have his baby mama or baby in the documentary. And in the trailer, we see that he does. But then in the film, we see that he does have his son in the documentary, but his face is blurred and the child's back is always to the audience. We do hear the child talk, and then we do see the baby mama.
She is not introduced,
but she's not introduced. He says her name a couple times because they're not together. Shockingly, they're not romantically. They co-parent now, but we do see her like in the periphery. So we do get a little bit of that, and he talks about how important it is for him to basically be the father that he didn't have, which was a very loving, supportive dad. But that's it. It's all about, it's 95, 96% about his career. And that's fine. We did talk a lot about how, celebrities and public figures don't owe us anything beyond what they provide us. But I don't know. I feel like, and Tyler says this in the documentary, that so much of his work is about him doling out this morality and this advice. And I do think that if I'm going to take someone's advice, I think I do have a right to know who you are as a person. And,
but part of one of his tenets is he understands his audience, and he's not really going to do something that upsets the devotion that he has of his core audience.
I know this always seems messy, but in this instance, I think it's relevant. I think Tyler Perry is a closeted gay man.
I do too.
So, and there's nothing like, if that's how he wants to present himself, I can go on and on about how maybe that has worked best for him and he's happy that way. So who am I to say anything? Except that I feel like all the stories he tells, they're so rooted in like women. Like he's telling these stories about women, and he's always giving like relationship advice. And you know I mean, every movie sort of ends with, if it's not a Medea saying it directly, then it's some other character basically saying like, well, this is what you should do. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, I think a lot of what he says makes sense to me. So I'm not saying that a gay man can't give relationship advice to a heterosexual woman, but I just think that someone who's built their entire brand on being like this moral compass
Mm-hmm.
and this like
Well,
soothsayer, shouldn't we sort of understand who they are as a person? Because you know what it feels like, all these gurus, like that one Netflix one with the people, that couple who are telling people who their soulmates are or whatever.
mhm.
Shouldn't we know who you are before we listen to you tell us what to do?
Well, the interesting thing about him is this character. His character is it's a drag performance, and but him outside of drag, outside of the Medea character, is very, again, stiff and reserved and rigid, and that comes across in his acting performances in within his own films. Um, and if you compare that to Martin Lawrence or Eddie Murphy or Robin Williams or Dustin Hoffman, like heterosexual men that are very secure in their sexuality don't come across the same way. It seems like he's holding on to something that he doesn't want us to see, which is perfectly all right.
Yeah, and I'm not so much harping on his sexuality. I'm just saying that I do think there's some validity in questioning who people are when their entire brand is about, it's like Oprah. Her entire brand is about like, cultivating your spirit and being the best you can. And then it's like, well, then I think we do need a more like a glimpse into her life and what she's doing. And she does provide that, which is partially why she was so successful, because she had a daily talk show where people sort of got to hear her every day talking about things. And
Hmm.
so you felt, even though we probably don't know the real Oprah, we get enough sense of who she is as a person to trust her in a way.
But for somebody that has, as he often says, such reverence for Black women, and that was kind of one of the detractors saying, like, he's also somewhat blind to the issues of Black women, or they're kind of pared down conveniently for the moralizing that goes on within a lot of these narratives. It's that I wanted to hear more of a discussion about, you don't have to work so damn fast on all these films because a lot of the work comes out shoddy. They're also rooted in a lot of the pain of your youth, which storytelling was escapism and a crutch. But sometimes, as I've said before, those crutches sometimes hobble us. So he's not shown any growth as a storyteller or a craftsman, as a as
Well,
a
he's
as a
limited
he's
because,
he's limited, but he is a billionaire. So if you care so much about Black women, why aren't you financing projects that they can do?
well, that's what I've always said. He's in a position to, well, here's the thing. I think he's limited because for, 20 years now, he hasn't really, he, what is his relationship to women? It's basically like seeing his mother and his aunt and people around him. But, you know, like actually, like what romantic relationships has he had with women? I would say they're probably very limited. So it, it seems like a lot of his stories tell the same thing. They're always
They
rooted in
do.
abuse because that's what he saw as a kid.
Yes.
He like it. We watched Medea's family reunion, which I guess we'll talk about in a second. But
Yeah. Which
I
it was a good double feature with this.
I think that that's probably the best Medea movie, because I think the storytelling of the female characters seems a little more meaty, and then Medea's kind of pared down in this one.
Hmm.
But again, it's like all of these characters in all these movies are the same. They're downtrodden. He's just telling the story of like the one woman he has in his head, and I feel like that's because you're not accustomed to being around women in any other way,
Well,
like
especially
certainly not
now,
romantically or
and
sexually.
not now. Like you're in a bubble now. So
But again, I'm not saying that he can't tell stories. Well, I don't think he's a great storyteller. I think he just because you can spit out a bunch of stuff,
Yeah, he's like,
which are all the same,
it
like all the
pour,
same stories. Like,
it pours out of me. It's like, yeah, and there's his work ethic is about not wasting things, and that is very honorable. But at the same time, at the writing stage, you can afford to take your little time and come up with something better.
yeah, he's so into being efficient, and but it's also like you can afford to, instead of shooting Acrimony in 7 days, why didn't maybe we take 2 weeks? Maybe it could have been 20% better. I don't know.
And because he took a risk, I think, with something like For Colored Girls, and which I think is his best work. But at the same time, like, I talked to some black women that are like, he had no business
Well,
adapting
I
that,
just feel like you said, for someone who claims to champion black women so much, what you're in a position where you could have your studio foster like black female storytellers.
And
And
he produced that is that Tina Chisholm movie Peoples. Do you remember that from a decade ago?
yeah, a
But his
decade
but
ago, it's
his
like,
name was splashed all over it. You
yeah,
didn't see her name.
why can't he just be the media mogul who uplifts these people who he claims to be?
It I I think it was on an extra feature of a disc somewhere, but it's Spike Lee and Denzel. I think it's after the follow up Mo, Mo Better Blues, which is not a film I love, but those two men are talking about like who's gonna the roles for black women. I guess we got to do that, you and I. It's like, okay,
He
that's
also,
how it feels. Like you're taking it upon yourself, but you could share the wealth in a different way.
Tyler also, there are a few moments in the documentary that paint a picture of him being probably a very difficult man to be around, like,
Yes.
because he does wield a lot of power. And yeah, there are a few moments where it's just like, oh, like, yeah, you seem like you're probably not great to be around these days, but
And for somebody of his stature, there's not a lot of unions with other filmmakers or other strange, interesting pairings. I think because he has to be in control.
and that's
And
fine. I mean, he says that Oprah is kind of like his like blueprint, and I can
sure,
see that he's very much like an alpha, has all the power, does what he wants to do, doesn't take well to criticism, and that's fine. To end on a positive note, I mean, I did get emotional watching. I mean, just for what he represents, like this black man who was able to be so successful in an industry that was not checking for him or anyone who was like him,
that's outright hostile. Yeah.
it is just, I mean, it's hard to not get emotional seeing all of his success, and I'm very proud of what he represents. So I'm glad he exists. I'm glad he's successful. I want him to continue to be successful and provide, while I'm criticizing him for not allowing other people to tell stories, he does offer a lot of opportunities
He
to
does.
people of color.
He does.
And, I'm thankful for that. So overall, I think the documentary is good. It does a good job of showcasing what this man has achieved. And I'm very proud of this black man who has achieved all of this success in spite of all the things.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's how I felt ending it.
He does have an American dream story,
Yeah. But yeah, you're not getting anything about who this man is personally, which makes me uncomfortable.
But I have the same criticism for him as I do for somebody like Wes Anderson or a Baz Luhrmann. It's just I don't know. I want to see a little growth in the storytelling, but what he has there are little gems in there in his body of work. There are.
As a public figure and an actor, I think he's very stiff because he can't be himself.
Yeah, kind of like Queen Latifah used to seem.
So it's kind of like, I don't necessarily need to see Tyler Perry. I just need him to continue to do the work, and I would prefer he highlight other people since he's not going to give us who he is,
Sure.
really.
Yeah.
But
But that said, we were hungry to watch a Tyler Perry movie. Your sister wanted to watch The Family That Prays, which she liked, and I haven't seen in years, with Kathy Bates and Alfre Woodard. But I suggested the only Medea film I haven't seen, which is 2006's Medea's Family Reunion.
well, that's Maxine's baby. Let's take a
Oh,
break. Movies we watched for fun. Medea's Family Reunion. Uh, I know I had seen it. I think I saw it like in theaters when it came out, maybe.
mm-hmm.
And you had never seen it.
Correct. We've had it on two polls, a Kiki Palmer poll and a Lynn Whitfield.
Yeah. I think from what I recall, from the others because I've seen all of them. I think this might be my favorite Medea movie.
I think it is. Well, I really like the first Boo because of the other ladies in the supporting cast. But yes, I would agree. This is the best one.
I like it because the central story of the two sisters with their like awful mother, Lynn Whitfield, is pretty emotional and
Mhm.
effective. I think the performances from the two sisters and Lynn Whitfield are good.
Lisa Arundel and Rochelle Eitz, who what played Sparkle
Oh, that's right.
in the TLC movie.
No, not Sparkle, Pebbles.
Pebbles, sorry, Sparkle.
Sparkle. I was like, who in the hell was Sparkle at TLC? No, Pebbles. But I also like it because Medea feels a little more subdued in a way that like I actually kind of take her seriously.
hmm
I never liked Joe, Medea's brother, basically who is Tyler Perry's playing.
The makeup on Joe always is so distracting to me. But yeah,
But yeah, I would, if a person's never seen a Medea movie, I would say start with Medea's Family Reunion.
but you get well, watching it right after Maxine's baby. This really is an exemplification of all his main themes. Um, but yeah, Blair Underwood is the abusive,
Abusive fiance.
and then Boris Kojo as a bus driver, which is highly unbelievable, is romancing the other sister. There's a poor sister and a rich sister. The poor sister Vanessa.
Also, his wig looks pretty good considering other men in Tyler Perry movies are like, I mean, he's famous for making these men's wigs look crazy.
This is true. It's just
Although it's so weird to see Boris Kojo with a junior afro.
right. But he's nice to see. Jennifer Lewis in a bit part, fulfilling like the Eartha Kitt energy
Friday Foster.
from Friday Foster.
Yeah. I bring you springtime in Paris. And it's all these like people hanging from the ceilings playing the harp or whatever.
So it's about Blair Underwood, his Lisa, Rochelle's character breaks it off with him because he's been abusing her, but it's the mother's meal ticket because she's run out of money and she's been tapping into her rich daughter's trust fund. But this wedding is kind of crazy because Jennifer Lewis is the wedding planner in her Springtime in Paris. The wedding gets called off, and then the other sister, they decide to get married, so all is not lost. But there are people hanging from the ceiling as angels, and they have to hang up there for a long time with all these delays.
Yeah.
What if you had to pee?
I don't know.
But you get a bunch of other people in here. Cicely Tyson, of course. There's a whole subplot with Keke Palmer as a little girl that Medea very unbelievably has to foster.
Yeah, Medea goes to court for like violating her probation, and Judge Maybelline Ephraim is the presiding judge, and she tells her, "Well, you either go to jail or you become the foster mother of Keke Palmer." And it's like, what?
Right.
Oh, and then Tyler Perry also plays Medea's attorney.
Yes.
Who again, Tyler Perry out of drag is just so unappealing on screen. Like he just has no presence. He seems so stiff.
He's so stiff. Like, I'm not going to give you anything. That's why, like, in the Why Did I Get Married movies, it's like, poor Sharon Leal has to bounce off this.
Moving on, 8 Women.
Oh, and Maya Angelou is her last film. On screen presence.
Oh, Cicely Tyson's in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, 8 Women.
8 Women we watched on my birthday because we'll hopefully be watching this week a new Isabelle film where she reunites with Francois Ozon. But you had never seen this. I haven't seen it since 2004. I think that it could have been better, but it is such an excellent cast of these French legends.
I don't even know what I gave it. Did I even rate it on Letterboxd? I'm checking. I would give it 2.5 out of 5. I didn't care for it. It's okay as a murder mystery. It's not giving me anything. Like the twist is kind of like okay,
but
it's not uninteresting, the twist, but it also feels so like it doesn't match the vibe of the movie because it's also a musical.
I don't like the music, but it's also, he's doing Jacques Demy, right? Which who made Deneuve famous in the 60s. So there are some nice allusions to, classic French cinema. But yeah, it seems like a little bit of a waste. And I think, when I was a young man and was very into boundary pushing scene, like Fanny Ardant and Catherine Deneuve having a lesbian scene. And watching it now, it feels like, oh, it feels a little forced. I don't know.
It's a musical that doesn't have good music. It's a murder mystery that's not very mysterious.
Hmm.
And then you have like these fabulous women in here,
It needed to be more.
namely the main three,
It needed to be
Isabel
Fanny and
and
Catherine.
you would expect it to just be a bitch, like what you would want is a bitch
It
fest,
needed to be cunty,
and
and
it's
it's not.
not at all. It and then the younger actors, except for the maid who I did like,
Emmanuel Béart's lovely, yes.
yes, but the two daughters,
Oh,
like y'all could have kept
well,
them.
there were two maids.
Oh, that's right. The black woman I also thought was fine, except that even her storyline of being like a closeted lesbian with Fanny Ardant,
Hmm.
it just doesn't push any. I mean, maybe for France in the early 2000s, like that, even my impression of France in the early 2000s, like French cinema at that time, would allow for something a lot more provocative.
Well, this is set in the 60s, but dealing with class and race and gender issues, but
You also sold this movie to me. I mean, you even say it on the podcast that it's fantastic. So then I think I was expecting something.
well, in my mind's eye it was.
Yeah.
And I do like Isabel in it as the bitchy sister, who's chronically, she's a hypochondriac, but she's a lot of fun. And it, from what I remember at the time, Deneuve was very huffy about Ozon, saying he's a fan of actresses, not women. She has since worked with him.
Because he's a homosexual.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's another one like Tyler Perry. He poops out.
This is the Tyler Perry is a homosexual podcast.
No, no, as in the work schedule. Ozon poops out a movie a year, and a lot of them do leave something to be desired. I think from his early days, like his Rampling films, I love the best, like Under the Sand and Swimming Pool, or even but again, I haven't watched them in years. See the Sea and Sitcom. We had a movie night years ago for Criminal Lovers, which is kind of a queer Hansel and Gretel rehash. I think he's one that could slow down a little bit too.
Next, Coup de Torchon.
Coup de Torchon, Clean Slate, which is based on the pulp noir novel Population 1280 by Jim Thompson, which I just read. So, and I wanted to rewatch this because I hadn't seen it since I was in college. But we had watched Stand By Me the other day, and there's opening narration from Richard Dreyfuss that says that Castle Rock population is 1281, which has to be a reference to this Jim Thompson novel, which I do know that Yorgos Lanthimos has wanted to remake. Anyway, love Jim Thompson. The book is set in 1910 American South, and this adaptation by Bertrand Tavernier moves it to 1938 Senegal, and it's about this white sheriff played by Philippe Noiret, who's married to Chabrol's wife, Stéphane Audran, and very unhappily so. And he's just this lazy sheriff that gets tired of being pushed around and just starts killing people. But he has a couple mistresses, one of them, which is a very spunky and young Isabelle Huppert, who is worth her weight in gold in this. It's very dark. I was surprised, now having read the book and rewatching it, how close Tavernier stays to the core elements of the narrative. But transposing it from the American South to, of course, these racist French assholes and we're at the advent of World War II here in Senegal. But yes, it's highly recommended. Definitely worth a watch.
Next, Beauty and the Beast.
This is the 77 version by Juraj Herz, Czech filmmaker who might be best known to Western eyes for The Cremator, which is excellent, part of the Criterion Collection. I really like his film Morgana, by the way, but I had never seen his take on Beauty and the Beast, which I love how it's shot. The beast looks like this bird creature who's very interesting. Of course, you already know the story, but it definitely worth a look.
What year is it?
I think 76 or 77.
Oh, I want to look up what the beast looks like. Moving on. The Groom.
This was a short film I found a version of, directed by Elem Klimov, who's probably best known for his I mean, Come and See is just this grueling fucking masterpiece. But who, of course, used to be married to Larissa Shepitko before she died, which is such a tragedy because her two features that I've seen are amazing, Wings and oh, I'm forgetting the name. My mind is blinking, but The Ascent. Sorry, The Ascent is amazing filmmaking. Anyway, she died early, so I've always been on the hunt to see some of his other films. He did a film on Rasputin that I found very confusing, but this is a short feature he did about a little boy and a girl in a classroom, basically.
We're watching the Timothée Chalamet Willy Wonka movie this week. So in preparation, we watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
We sure did.
So Gene Wilder versus Johnny Depp. Who directed the Gene Wilder one?
The Gene Wilder one was directed by Mel Stewart.
So Mel Stewart versus Tim Burton.
Yes.
I think Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka is much more appealing.
I agree.
He seems more sinister. I see all these memes like Gene Wilder's the only one who looks like he would actually let those kids die.
Yeah.
So I did like that.
And Oscar winner Jack Albertson as the grandpa, I think, is much more vibrant.
We need to talk about that grandpa. All these movies where you have like 5-6 adults in like all shack and they can't make ends meet. I don't understand. And then the minute especially in the Gene Wilder one, the minute Charlie Bucket gets the opportunity to go to the chocolate factory, that man who has spent decades, we're told, in the bed.
22 years.
22 years.
He's only in his 60s. So what happened in their 40s?
When he gets up, he has a spring in his step and he is ready to go. Do you know how mad I would be?
Oh, yeah.
I've been making this cabbage soup trying to feed this family, and your ass could have got up out the bed and gone to work. Ugh. That alone is enough for me to be annoyed by the movie. But yeah, I just don't think I like this concept or the story. Like the basics of it, like, oh, these bratty kids kind of are taught a lesson and like as an allegory of like being a good person.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it pays off in the end.
Roald Dahl apparently hated shitty children, which is clear across the board in his works.
And I like seeing kids being punished, so I think the Gene Wilder one is better.
Yes.
The Johnny Depp version.
I like the aesthetic and the vibe that he's trying to give, which is because what did I say? But the first one is very Howard Hughes meets what was the other comparison I used? I don't remember.
But
Johnny Depp's giving me Michael Jackson a little bit with Tilda Swinton.
Mixed with Whitney Houston and Anna Wintour.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't blame Johnny Depp. I think his aesthetic's interesting, and I think what he's doing with the role's fun. I just think the writing's bad. Like, I didn't laugh at all.
Mm-hmm. It's not good.
It's not particularly dark. It's not funny.
I hated the Oompa Loompas.
I didn't like that the Oompa Loompas one guy, and then the CGI is really distracting.
The CGI is atrocious.
I think it relied way too much on it.
I've said this before about Tim Burton. I think CGI ruined him. And especially by the time we get a few years later to Alice in Wonderland, which is a nosedive off the precipice of filmmaking. Beatlemania meets Howard Hughes is how the Gene Wilder version feels to me.
But now that I've seen both of these in the recent past, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what Timothée does.
Well, the one with Timothée is directed by the Paddington director.
Oh, and people love Paddington.
I haven't seen either Paddington film.
We watched Harry and the Hendersons.
I haven't watched
John Lithgow and
Melinda Dillon.
Who's the lady?
Lainey Kazan.
Oh my God!
And David Suchet and Donna Michi. Yeah.
When Lainey Kazan comes over and she's all being pushy to come in the house, I was so annoyed with her.
Do you have any peanut butter?
Bitch, back up from my door! Like.
And then she's
like, "That was not the time."
Do you have any wheat germ? And Melinda Dillon goes, "No." She's like, "I guess I'll go to the store." So, well, give me back my peanut butter then.
But I received a few messages on Instagram. Because I posted we were watching it, people not knowing what it was. So, which I'm surprised because not only was it a movie, but it was a television series.
Yeah.
But it's basically about the abominable snowman and then John Lithgow's family.
Sasquatch, you mean?
Sasquatch, Bigfoot. John Lithgow is driving with his family and hits him and then decides to bring him home. And I think the dumbest part of the movie is when John Lithgow calls the police for help because there's like Bigfoot in my house tearing shit up. The police go, What are you talking about? Bigfoot is fake. Hang up this prank call because if we go down there, it's going to be a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then John Lithgow goes, "Oh, okay, never mind. I was faking. Sorry, bye."
Well, I think he says that he could have jail time or a fine for pranking as
But he's
well.
not pranking. Bigfoot is in my
Right.
house.
I'd be like, get your ass down here.
I'm like, come on. So I think the premise of why Bigfoot stays or Harry is stupid, but
In the Sasquatch hunters going on in the background.
I didn't. This movie didn't catch my attention.
It's sweet, and I love how Harry looks.
Harry looks like
The makeup, is it Rick Baker, is amazing.
Harry looks great, and my sister has a friend whose mom looks like Harry.
Yeah,
So that's when I knew that the makeup's good.
I've seen some people that look
Even
like
his teeth,
yeah,
like it's really well done.
it's excellent. Directed by William Deere. Yeah, and I never saw the series after this, but this was like a favorite growing up when I was a kid.
We were staying in a hotel for Thanksgiving, and we just put on. There were 2 movie channels, and well, actually, it wasn't even HBO. It was like TNT or something.
Yeah.
But we got sucked into watching Four Christmases,
Which I've never seen, which is
with
why
Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon,
which came out in 2008, directed by Seth Gordon.
The cast is really impressive. There are many Oscar winners.
All the parents are Oscar winners: Jon Voight, Sissy Spacek, Mary Steenburgen, and Robert Duvall.
Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon play a couple. They've been dating for 3 years, but they're very like non-traditional. Like, we're not going to get married. We're not going to have kids. We're like, it's almost like they have an open relationship without the other people.
Mm-hmm.
And this Christmas, they decide to go to their 4 parents' house because, of course, their parents have to be divorced. So there are 4 different homes to visit. And during the course of that night visiting the houses, they end up breaking up because Reese decides she wants to have a more traditional relationship.
She wants a baby.
And a baby. But then in the end, Vince Vaughn agrees that he's willing to talk about it. And then we flash forward a year and see that she's had a baby.
In secret.
I surprisingly thought this movie was funny, although I think the worst part of the movie is Reese Witherspoon.
She's miscast to me, and you needed like the straight man type in there because she's playing the straight man, but she's not good at it.
This movie would have been so much better if they would have cast Reese Witherspoon and written that character as like a female Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
like she's also kind of wild, but they make her this very like sheepish, conservative, like woman. But then it's like, why would a lady like her be with Vince Vaughn?
That could still be funny by the right performer. Like, can you imagine Kristen Wiig playing that to Vince Vaughn? And I bet,
well, because I feel like she would make it a little chaotic. Reese Witherspoon just, I don't know. I don't care for her that much in general. And she looks crazy. I don't know if there's CGI going on, but her face looks like there's a filter on it.
It's probably just lighting
and then her wig, because there are times when it's clearly a wig, and then there are times I'm assuming there were reshoots and so they had to make her hair match, but something about that lady. And then Vince Vaughn's huge.
Yeah, he's a big man.
And I don't know, whenever I see a really big man next to a super petite lady, it's like,
well, if that's going to be
he literally smashes her.
Then play with that. But it's also play with that,
or that. But I've always liked Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
he becomes grating by the end.
Oh yeah, and Dwight Yoakam is the pastor that Mary Steenburgen has fallen in love with. There's a scene in a church that I think is funny.
With Vince Vaughn.
Because of Vince Vaughn, because he's cast as, they ask him to step up and play Jesus, and for the nativity scene, and he goes ham. He gets into it.
But if you haven't seen Four Christmases, I would recommend it.
It's fine.
Then we watched a movie my sister selected called Grandma's Boy,
which I remember renting from Hollywood Video. I haven't seen it since then.
I had never heard of this shit. I thought it was the movie with Adam Sandler and he's in the bayou with his grandma. What's that called?
Oh, that's with Kathy Bates, right?
Yeah.
Waterboy.
I thought when she pulled out Grandma's Boy, we were about to watch Waterboy.
Ben Franklin is the devil.
And then she hyped this movie up so tough. And when it started, I'm like, oh, like it was crickets. I'm like, this shit is not funny. But then it grew on me. And I ended up really liking it.
Well, it's once Grandma Doris Roberts finally shows up, and her two
friends,
2 roommates played by Oscar winner Shirley Jones and Shirley Knight, then it gets fun.
Yes. And like Nick Swartzen's kind of cute.
It's got a bunch of Sandler's cronies in it.
Well, and who's the guy who dresses like the Matrix?
Joel David Moore.
He was funny.
I think
to
this is
me.
a really good job of being creepy.
Yeah. I thought this movie was good. I thought it definitely took like 10 minutes to kind of get me where I needed to be.
And Linda Cardellini as the female lead.
That's
That
right. Who I thought was cute.
I think Al is his name Alan Covert, who looks kind of like they keep saying he's 35, and he looks
I mean, the gag is that he's supposed to be the older because he works for like a video game company. So everyone there looks young. But then it's like Nick Swardsden doesn't look young either. Not like the other guys.
right.
So then I thought, yeah, the main guy, he was my least favorite part of the movie.
He seemed like bargain basement Mel Gibson, and he's clearly a lot older than his character's stated age. And did you think of BlackBerry at all watching this? In the office environment.
Yeah, no, I didn't, but it makes sense.
And then Jonah Hill has this moment where he's sucking on this woman's breasts at a party.
That was awkward.
That was awkward because it made me think that has Jonah Hill done that before?
Probably.
Probably.
The first time he saw a titty, he was real grateful. But Nick Swardsden has a romance with Shirley Jones that I think is kind of funny.
Yes. And then somebody else Kevin Nealon is the head of their little video game company.
I think if you're up for a silly movie, I would recommend this one. Lastly, we watched The Naked Gun, which I didn't even know we were going to watch. I went to go to the bathroom and came out and it was playing.
Your sister's like, we're watching another movie.
Okay.
Which is so fun. And your mom was so resistant to it and then laughed so much.
I know. My mom is, I'm like my mother.
You're like, yep. Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure I had seen The Naked Gun before. I didn't remember it. It is a fun movie.
I've seen them all before. It's been the longest since I've seen the second one. You and I watched the third one relatively recently. It's from what's his name that directed Airplane and several Scary movies.
I thought it was good. I laughed a lot.
It's funny.
Leslie Nielsen was made for that role.
Yes. I love George Kennedy and Priscilla, of course.
All right, let's take one last break. The secret movie this week was my choice, and I chose the 2001 American action techno thriller Swordfish, directed by Dominic Sena.
Who you know from?
So I know Dominic Sena because he has directed many Janet Jackson videos, like Let's Wait a While, The Pleasure Principle. He did the Rhythm Nation short film, which won a Grammy, which includes the videos for Rhythm Nation, Miss You Much, The Knowledge. He did Come Back to Me. He's also, he directed If, but he also did those compilations that I have from like Rhythm Nation, Demita Joe, Design of a Decade. So he has had a long-standing working relationship with Janet Jackson.
Also did some Taylor Dane, but his film work, I've always wanted to rewatch his debut, California with a K, starring Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis as serial killers, I believe, because in my mind's eye, I remember liking it as a kid. But his other filmmaking, he's probably best known as a filmmaker for Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage and Angelina, which was the year before this film. But Whiteout with Kate Beckinsale and Tom Skerritt is tragically bad. And you and I saw his last film, Season of the Witch, with Nick Cage in theaters, and also not good.
Why did I choose this film? So my sister has an interesting film library, and I asked you to pick some options. So you picked several movies, I think like 8. And then I asked my brother-in-law, could you pick a film? And then he gave us like 3 options from the 8. And then he really sold Swordfish. Like, he's like, this is a really good movie.
And I've never seen it before.
I did not care for this movie.
I did not either. And it also went in my head and went right out.
The premise. A covert counter-terrorist unit called Black Cell, led by Gabriel Shear, wants the money to help finance their war against international terrorism, but it's all locked away. Gabriel brings in convicted hacker Stanley Jobson to help him. Okay, so Gabriel Shear, this counter-terrorist who runs Black Cell, is played by John Travolta.
In a Razzie-nominated role.
Oh, he's so awful. John Travolta, basically, he's a counter-terrorist, but what he says he does is, like, if someone attacks the U.S., like they bomb a donut shop, I'll go back and bomb their entire town. Or if they, shoot a person, I'll go back and set their entire school on fire. Or some, it's like he wants to make it seem like if you do anything to the United States, we will come back 10 times harder, which will scare anyone from ever attacking us. But
Please note,
he's not the government. He's just like this
right.
private person who's just doing this shit no one's asking him to do.
Please note this opened in June of 2001.
Right before. Yeah. So he has, like the premise stated, he has a bunch of money. I think it's like $9 billion locked up. So he needs someone to help him hack it. Hugh Jackman plays Stanley Jobson. And we see that Hugh Jackman has just been released from prison for hacking into some federal platform. I think the Department of Defense or something.
Was it? Okay.
Was something. So he's just gotten out, and he's told that he can never get on the internet again.
Yeah, he can't access the internet or use a computer.
So he's just living in his mobile home, playing golf, like on top of the roof, shirtless.
Mm-hmm.
When one day, Halle Berry in her convertible Jaguar pulls up, looking fantastic.
Her name is Ginger Knowles,
saying that my boss needs your help, and he'll pay you to just meet with him. So how do they convince Hugh Jackman? He has a daughter, Molly, and he doesn't have custody of her. His ex-wife, who's like a porn star, who's now shacked up with like the porn king,
played by Drea D'Amadio of Sopranos fame.
She's like, you'll never see your daughter again. So he's trying to figure out how to get like a lawyer to get custody, and John Travolta knows that. So Halle Berry's like, yeah, here's $100,000 right now. This can help you start the process, and then if you do this job, you'll make enough money that you can afford to get your daughter back. Which is so dumb. Like, there's no assurance that just because he can afford a lawyer, he can have his daughter back. He's a convicted felon with no stable housing. But anyway, he goes and he finds out that John Travolta needs him to get this money. So Hugh very easily gets it. But Don Cheadle plays like a federal agent who's trying to stop John Travolta. Mm-hmm. So that's going on in the background. We also find out that Halle Berry is a DEA agent undercover. So we're told. But everything culminates in a bombing that is actually the opening of the film. Mm-hmm. So Travolta's trying to like do this revenge shit and blows up some building. And in the process, Hugh Jackman is Halle Berry gets killed, so we think. And then Hugh Jackman kills John Travolta by shooting down his helicopter. So we think he's dead. Mm-hmm. But early in the film, John Travolta says that it's really easy to trick people because their brains believe what they see. So the final scene of the film is we see Halle Berry did not die, even though we saw her hanging from a noose and being shot in the chest.
And there's an impact, so it wasn't a blank.
And we see a wound. She is now in costume, and she goes to a bank and basically withdraws $9 billion by just giving an account number and a password.
Which is Swordfish.
And that's where the title of the movie comes from. The password is Swordfish. And she doesn't even say like capital S or whatever. And then we see that she meets John Travolta on a boat, who's also out of costume. And they ride off into the sunset. And Hugh Jackman's character, we see that earlier on, he was transferred $10 million. So we can hope that he's now able to get his daughter back. Man, this story was so dumb. I didn't care about any of these people.
And then you have Sam Shepard in there as a senator that's involved somehow. Oh, and then
Sam Shepard's in cahoots with John Travolta.
A brief bit for Tom Cruise's cousin, William Mapother.
That's right. He's in it with nothing to do.
Nope.
This was so boring for like what they're called. What did they get described as? An action techno thriller. I mean, the only thing that is good is the cinematography and the soundtrack, which was produced by Paul Oakenfold. So as you can imagine, it's a lot of like, as I guess you would call back then, techno. That's it. This story is cock-a-doodle. Yes. The casting is distracting because Halle Berry serves the function of being a femme fatale. Mm-hmm. And of course looks stunning. And then we'll talk about her gratuitous titty scene. But John Travolta as the villain is laughable. He's so unbelievable. I don't know why you would cast him.
Well, I mean, this was after his Pulp Fiction career resurgence.
He looks so dumb. He has that same Pulp Fiction hair.
I
Like,
mean, but you know, this is also around the time of Battlefield Earth and another dumb thriller, Domestic Disturbance.
ugh.
He looks like a vampire.
And then speaking of closeted gay men, Hugh Jackman, like he's just so stiff. And then we get two moments where he's ogling Halle Berry that is so uncomfortable because it feels so unnatural. And then he's ogling these three women who end up getting like half naked in a pool. That felt so gratuitous and dumb.
The scene that I thought was the worst was some blonde woman is giving him a blowjob while John Travolta is forcing him at gunpoint to do some serious hacking work.
We're told that this level of hacking by like a master hacker would take 60 minutes, but he has to do it in 60 seconds. And he doesn't start until the 45-second with 45 seconds left. That was so dumb.
It's ridiculous. I will say it's nice to see Hugh Jackman having like a regular body.
He's very handsome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let me just go through these notes. So the opening of the film is we see an explosion, and then we hear Travolta. He talks a lot about movies in this movie, and he mentions Dog Day Afternoon and then a character says, "Well, the bad guy can't win." So it's like foreshadowing.
Well, the script is fucking stupid.
It's so dumb.
By Skip Woods, by the way, who wrote one of the Die Hard movies and the Wolverine Origins movie, which is fucking stupid. But they're approaching Dog Day Afternoon like it's a fictional film that's based on a true story.
Halle Berry looks amazing. I hate her hair, but it is very 2001, so I can't knock it. But all I kept thinking is the movie Dream Scenario, Julianne Nicholson has kind of a similar, like inspired by style. And I kept thinking she only wishes she looked like I'm imagining that she maybe showed her hairstylist a picture of Halle Berry in Swordfish, and that's what she got.
Halle Berry's hair reminded me of like a cross between a Mary J wig from that period and Betty Boop.
That's right. Yeah,
those little hooks.
That's exactly what it looks like. Again, she's stunning. Her body is snatched.
Yes.
We're told that Hugh is Wired Magazine's Man of the Year. Like there's some hacker magazine that has named this like hacker ex-felon like Man of the Year. Okay. The writing, just the storytelling is terrible. The actual story is pointless. And then the dialogue, when it relates to the hacking and the tech, sounds like someone who just looked up like what are some hacker terms.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment, and there are many moments like this where Hugh gets asked like, how did you break the code? And he's like, I dropped a logic bomb through the back door. I don't know what any of this means, but it sounds dumb.
There's a montage where Jackman's sitting in front of all these computers and he is doing his damnedest as an actor to make that seem entertaining, where he's like reacting to whatever's going on in these multiple screens. It's painful.
There's a moment when Halle is seducing Hugh and then she says, are you surprised a girl with an IQ over 70 can give you a hard on? That made me laugh.
I laughed, and when we're told about the Travolta's character, there's a line: he exists in a world beyond your world, and then you see John Travolta in the next shot. And it's like that man.
That's literally my next note, and like it's how pointless. I mean, it's pointless to say how crazy he looks, but it's just like, who thought? If I were the producer of this film, like y'all, I'm not wasting my money and make this movie off because it's guaranteed to be a joke once you see John Travolta.
Yes,
it's guaranteed. We couldn't get what's that one guy who is in a movie, I think with Halle Berry, where he's stalking her and he's crazy. And
Bruce Willis.
No, I think Bruce Willis might be in this movie that I'm talking about, but it has this other guy who has a really cool name. It's like an Italian sounding name. And I think Halle Berry is a hacker in it.
Halle Berry's a hacker.
Giovanni Ribisi.
Oh, he's a short little thing.
They couldn't get Giovanni Ribisi to play this counter-terrorist. I mean,
yeah, like 2000. That's he would have been fresh off The Gift.
And he's cute.
Oh, you still haven't seen? Is it The Other Sister with Juliette Lewis?
He's in it.
Giovanni and Juliette Lewis both are special needs.
Oh, I would watch that because I like him. Every time I see him, like I think he's really cute and he does a good job.
Oh, there's a scene where he gets drunk and professes his love to her in that.
Okay, we need to talk about Halle Berry showing her titties.
Oh my God. like this is the
If you look up the word gratuitous in the dictionary,
it
it
would
should
be
be a
this
picture of
scene.
Halle Berry's titties because there was no point.
Well, and you brought up a good point. Like this black woman is sun tanning for what?
Well, yeah, I just don't understand why is she sunbathing topless? Because she's doing it as if like she needs to get some sun, which she doesn't, and then she doesn't look uneven. So then it's like you just want your breasts out. It just felt so pointless. But then we find out that in real life, Halle Berry admitted that she knew it was gratuitous, but she did it because they gave her an extra 500,000, and she felt like it'd be a good way to get over her anxiety about her body and nude scenes.
Sure, but it was also a marketing ploy for the
So
film.
I don't knock her for doing it. It's her body and it's her bank account. And I don't knock the producers for trying to get her to do it because that's all people talk about in relation to this dumbass movie. And
That's
I'm
true.
sure many, many people bought tickets to see her titties.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think in this movie, it just is so pointless.
It's so pointless, especially because there's a more striking scene with her in her underwear where it's a stupid plot point because it's like, why are you? If you were really DEA and you're showing yourself as wired, I mean, clearly it's a red herring, but it's such a stupid
It's a
storytelling
stupid
ploy.
scene, and
But she looks great in that. Like just showing her
she
underwear.
looks so, yeah, we see her in her little skimpy under like bra and panties, looks amazing. I feel like that topless scene she could have just had on like a skimpy bikini top, but whatever. But then it made me think, because I forgot who brought it up about Olivier Martinez beating up Gabriel Aubry.
Yeah, your sister.
Oh, my sister. Over Halle Berry, and then looking at the pictures of Olivier whooped Gabriel's ass. He got a good old fashioned beatdown, and then it made me think. Remember when Halle Berry had that hit and run?
Yeah, and she ran to the hospital to look at her face.
She was driving that rental Ford Explorer and
Not-
tore that lady's car up and broke her wrist or something. And then
Yeah.
Halle Berry had a gash on her forehead.
Yep,
so
she had to get attended.
So she ran from the scene of the accident to go get that taken care of.
Because I can't scar my moneymaker.
Yeah.
Girl.
I mean, I guess if I were her, I probably would be more concerned with my face than this lady's wrist. But
It's around the time of Catwoman, I think. Yeah.
you already alluded to this, but the scene where Hugh is hacking and they're trying to make it look interesting with multiple screens and him jumping up and that was the dumbest.
That was as uncomfortable as Tom Cruise getting on that couch.
Yes, actually.
Like
on Oprah's couch getting all excited about Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes. Like, please stop this now.
Okay, I thought this movie should have been called Not Without My Daughter because you could have a drinking game for the number of times they mention
Holly.
John or Hallie mention Hugh's daughter Holly. Is that her name or Molly?
I think it's Molly.
What? It doesn't matter. They mention her daughter every time he wants to like back out. And it's so annoying. And then you meet the daughter, and it's like, I would have let her go.
It's Holly. Hallie's screwing me up. It's Holly. Oh God, I hated how that little girl looked.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm like, y'all could have her. Or like, the stakes are so low. This girl is being taken care of by her mother. She's not, well, at a point, they do take this girl hostage. So then he really is invested in getting her back. But it's like, there's no timeline. Like him getting his daughter back, there isn't like some impending court date that he needs money for a lawyer for. And then John Travolta's activities seem so like random. Like it needed to focus more on maybe like there's a countdown to getting this $9 billion and all the pressure surrounding that. I hated this like secondary plot line of the daughter and getting her back and needing a lawyer.
But when the first scene with Halle Berry where she says, well, she says something about his daughter, well, her name, and he tossed her out of his trailer and immediately tries to call his daughter. It's like, did you forget about her?
Yeah.
What?
There's a moment when Travolta says that he's had to change his identity so many times, and I kept thinking, like, how looking like that? What could you do? It's like we recognize that big ass face.
Is this the face we ended up with? Okay.
When the wife, like, we're told that Hugh can have shared custody of his kid, and I just thought I'd be so happy with that. Like, he really is making, like, he's in all this trouble over not wanting shared custody. So you don't think the mom should have time with the daughter?
Well, they allude to the fact that the mother is going to end up prostituting the daughter because of the business she's in. And do I say this late? Drea de Matteo, she's in basically one scene, but we see her waking up to take that phone call from Hugh Jackman, and she's immediately swilling down the booze, mascara running.
I mean, I don't know if I'm being overly sensitive, but the imagery of Halle Berry, a black woman in this film, being hanged by a noose
It was
was
creepy.
too much for
It
me.
was
And then they
creepy.
shoot her ass. I'm like, we
Mhm.
didn't need that. Who thought that was a good idea? Then, so the final sort of showdown involves like Hugh Jackman, or I'm sorry, John Travolta on a bus with all these people with bombs on them, and which felt very Speed to be.
Mhm.
And then the way he's able to escape is that he has a helicopter lift the bus, which I was like, that helicopter must be strong as hell, because it doesn't even look like a real helicopter. It looks like the skeleton of a helicopter, and that helicopter is able to pick up like a city bus filled with people. But I thought that was so stupid. And then the thing that fully took me out is one of the law enforcement people is trying to tell the cop in charge, like, that they lost the bus. And the guy in charge is like, how the hell did you lose the city bus? And the way this cop is trying to explain to him, like, the bus is airborne, that writing was terrible.
It's terrible. This is like
It is.
Michael Bay level
I mean, I'm
filmmaking.
not trying to be hyperbolic. It is terrible.
It's bad. And then, it doesn't help when it keeps referencing greater films like Dog Day Afternoon or Sugarland Express comes
Right.
up at one point. It's like,
Y'all
just,
might want to pipe down on
just
these
like,
better movies we could be watching.
stop making me think of something infinitely better, please.
Oh, I don't have shit else to say about this terrible movie. What would you give it?
Oh, a 1.5.
I would give it 1.5 out of 5.
It's garbage. It exists in a world beyond my world. I'll say that.
Well, what are we? Well, before we do that, you wanted to mention a book you're reading.
Oh yeah, I finished it.
Oh.
I read. I finished a couple things. I finished the Jim Thompson and Disclaimer by Renee Knight, which I'd wanted to read because Alfonso Cuarón has made a mini series out of it to come out next year, starring Kate Blanchett and Sacha Baron Cohen, and it's based on the cover. I thought it was a true crime kind of thing. It's not. I did not really care for this story, and I hope that Cuarón makes some significant changes. It's very much along the lines of something like Girl on the Train, about this woman, a television journalist played by Blanchett, who in the book's a documentarian, I think, and she suddenly gets sent this book, and as she's reading it, she recognizes the main character as someone, as it's her, and this deep dark secret that she's kept. It's this domestic drama about white fragile people that I found so boring. I thought, fine, if this is gonna unspool all of your lives because of this fucking stupid ass thing, then go kill yourselves. I was so annoyed at these people in this book that it's just like, shut the fuck up. There are more things to worry about. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, I was annoyed at this, but I love Kate. So I hope that something else magical happens with the storytelling for a mini series. Yeah, I can't express how disappointed I was based on who is behind the adaptation of it. But anyway,
well, I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Anyway, and right now I'm about to finish the classic novel Contempt by Alberto Moravia, which is excellent. That's an unwinding of a relationship told from a very paranoid, anxious man's point of view. And I wanted to read it because I haven't watched the 1964 Jean-Luc Godard version with Brigitte Bardot and Jacques Palance. And so I'm excited to rewatch that, but I highly recommend. I've read another Moravia book, The Voyeur, I think, which is lesser known, but it's very good.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
We were talking about what's going on this week.
We're seeing The Color Purple, the new Willy Wonka movie.
Poor Things, you see. We got an Isabel film that I'm jonesing to watch, and something else.
That sounds like a lot.
Isn't there something else?
I hope not.
Oh, there's a new Godzilla movie we're not seeing. Oh, Eileen.
Oh, I'd actually watched the Godzilla movie.
There's a new the Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, comes out this week.
Oh God, there's too much.
And then, but Eileen, I think we really need to cover. I loved Eileen.
All right, all done.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.